Yo, what is up, fam? It's your boy Legend, and I'm back with another video. You already know what this is just by looking at the thumbnail. What if Naruto was a solo badass? Now, I'm going to let you guys know right now, if I just sound out of it, I am just really tired right now, but I am still going to give you guys some quality content. So, the like goal for this video, same as usual. Get this to 5 likes for the next part. Subscribe while you're at it. But without further ado, let's get into this intro so we can start this What If.
さすがは仮にも影の名を背負う忍びたちだ。ならば内浜田らも全力で応えよう。おかげも何も全てが無駄になることに。
The darkness had long since become familiar to Moegi. It wasn't just the kind that surrounded her in the cell, cold stone, mildew, and the faint metallic sting of blood, but the kind that had buried itself inside her years ago. A constant companion born from pain, purpose, and quiet, bitter resolve. She hadn't always been like this. There was a time, not long ago, when she believed her life would follow a predictable arc. Graduate the academy, rise in the ranks. Maybe one day we serve along Konohamaru and Udon again, her childhood teammates. Maybe even start a family. But fate was never so kind. Her story was never meant to be ordinary. It started 3 years ago, the day her father disappeared. No one in the village had made a big fuss. He wasn't a shinobi or a figure of prominence. He was just a man. Quiet, steady, always with grease-stained fingers from fixing vendor carts or replacing cracked water pumps. But to Moegi, he was everything. He was her anchor in a world that often moved too fast, spoke too loud, and asked too much of children like her. He left for a job in the grass country and never returned. The official report said bandits, but something about it didn't sit right. The story was too clean, too quick, and grass country wasn't known for its crime, at least not for that kind. So she dug. She asked questions in the back of alleys of Konoha, spoke to travelers, merchants, and even former missing nins who traded secrets for clemency or coin. And what she found buried her innocence beneath the weight of truth. Her father hadn't been killed by bandits. He had been captured, interrogated, and disposed of by agents working under one of Orochimaru's former cells, allegedly searching for experimental test subjects, human ones. That was the first time Moegi truly understood the depth of what shinobi politics meant. How innocence could die for someone else's obsession. How collateral damage wasn't just a term, it was a sentence. One no one would grieve outside of those left behind. And so, she made a choice. The way all orphans and survivors do when the world tries to forget them. She went to Tsunade herself, walked into the Hokage's tower with trembling hands and fire in her voice. "Send me," she said. "I know how to blend in. I'm not strong, but I'm good at being overlooked. No one will see me coming." At first, the idea was dismissed. She was too young, they said. Too green, but Tsunade, hard-edged, always more perceptive than she let on, saw something behind Moegi's eyes, and perhaps in Moegi. She saw a reflection of a younger self, someone who had lost everything and still chose duty. Moegi became one of the youngest embedded informants in Leaf history. She was never truly a Chunin, though she wore the vest. Her rank was a cover. Her real mission was infiltration. It started small, passing messages through merchant lines, delivering intel from wandering shinobi. Eventually, her path took her deeper into the very fringes of grass country where remnants of Orochimaru's old network had begun to stir again, only to be discovered, captured, and thrown into the belly of his hideout like meat for wolves. She didn't regret it. Not really. She had always known she might never return, but it did hurt sitting in that cell, bleeding slowly into the straw, wondering if anyone even remembered who she was, wondering if the village she risked everything for still carried her name in its records, or if it had already carved it into a tombstone. But then, Naruto came. The boy who used to run through the streets, shouting about ramen and attention, now clad in shadows and secrets, whispering salvation through the vents. Maybe she wasn't forgotten after all. Somewhere else in the hollow belly of the base. Naruto knelt silently within the steel ribs of the ventilation system, his knees aching from the tight crawl spaces and his back damp with sweat. A protein bar wrapper crinkled softly beside him, but he didn't move. His stomach twisted, not from hunger, but guilt. The silence was oppressive, and inside it, his mind wandered, unbidden and unwelcome to the people he left behind, to Ino. Her laughter, the way her voice rose in fake annoyance whenever he snuck up behind her, the soft way she brushed his hair back from his forehead on nights when nightmares dragged him back from sleep. She was warmth. She was devotion. She was everything that he didn't deserve. And yet, he kept taking from her, stealing moments of peace and pretending they weren't built on lies. He had long since stopped trying to justify it. There was no excuse, only weakness, a selfish, cowardly refusal to let go of the comfort she gave him. But that wasn't the worst of it. No, the worst was his mother. Naruto's hands clenched the sides of the vent until his knuckles whitened. The memory forced its way to the surface like bile. Kushina, beautiful, fierce, broken. It had started so subtly, an embrace that lingered too long, a conversation that danced too close to the personal, a vulnerable moment wrapped in loneliness. Two people grieving the time they lost, the years they never got to share, but it twisted. Somewhere along the way, something sacred became perverse. The line blurred, and then it vanished altogether. She touched him with hands that trembled from want, whispered things he should never have heard, and he let it happen. At first, out of shock, then because part of him craved it. Not her, not that, but the feeling of being needed, of being someone's everything. It sickened him. He had tried to stop, swore it was over, but every time he walked through that door, she was waiting, and every time he gave in, he hated her for it. He hated himself more. The worst part wasn't even the acts themselves, it was the aftermath. The way she'd smile afterwards like nothing was wrong. The way she'd say, "I love you," like it was normal. Like they were something pure and unbreakable. And all he could do was nod, choking on shame. He should have left, reported her, cut ties. But the fox inside him had once whispered the truth with a cruel laugh. "You think she's the only one who's broken? Look in the mirror, boy." And maybe it was right. Maybe he was broken too. Maybe that's why he could go from Ino's bed to Kushina's arms and still wake up the next morning like nothing happened. But it was starting to crack now. Something about this mission, about Moegi, about the silence, about crawling through filth and watching people suffer from the shadows, was forcing him to feel, to sit with his choices, and it hurt. He pressed his forehead to the cold vent wall and whispered, "I'm sorry." He didn't know who it was for. Maybe Ino, maybe Moegi, maybe the version of himself he lost somewhere along the way. All he knew was that when this mission ended, something had to change, or it would consume him whole. Naruto didn't move for a long time after whispering his apology to the dark. The silence wrapped around him like a second skin, suffocating in its stillness. But he couldn't afford to break now. Not when he was this close. He shifted his weight silently, crawled back through the narrow vents, and began to map the path again in his head. The next phase of the plan was already in motion. He'd spent the last 2 days observing Gurren from the shadows, the woman who once commanded a terrifying crystalline arsenal, now moved like a ghost under Kabuto's watch. She wasn't trusted, not really, just tolerated. She obeyed because Yukimaru lived, because Kabuto knew exactly where to press. Naruto had seen it all, and tonight, he would make contact. Gurren had just finished scrubbing blood from the floor of the infirmary. Her gloves were stained red. Her fingers cracked beneath the plastic. When she turned, she found him already there, leaning against a stone wall like he belonged to it. "Don't scream," Naruto said, lifting his hand slowly. She didn't. Her eyes narrowed, sharp as razors. Her silence stretched heavy with suspicion. "I want Kabuto dead," Naruto continued. "And I want you to do it." Gurren laughed. Not a sound of humor, but disbelief. "He checks everything I touch. Every plate, every glass. Do you think he trusts me?" "He trusts your desperation," Naruto replied. "I've been watching. You have access. You just need the right moment." She folded her arms. "And if I refuse, you won't. You love that boy, Yukimaru, far too much to refuse," he said plainly. A beat passed. "And the poison?" she asked. Naruto tossed her a small vial, dark green and sealed with wax. "It metabolizes slowly, painfully. 3 drops in a drink, 2 drops in food." Gurren caught it and stared at the glass like it might bite her. I'm not a killer," she said. Naruto's face didn't change. Neither was Moegi's father. But they killed him anyway. She flinched. I'll try," she whispered. 3 days, he said. "After that, we move whether he's dead or not." Day 1. Kabuto ate in the lab that evening, too absorbed in his work to leave the notes and scalpel trays scattered around him. Gurren entered with his tray: boiled rice, seaweed soup, and pickled daikon. Naruto watched from above, wedged deep into the rafters of the old research hall. He wrote notes with charcoal on thin parchment. Attempt 1. Gurren entered with normal routine, poison added to the soup while Trey was still outside his field of view. Kabuto's chakra remains calm, no suspicion. Kabuto sipped once, twice, then paused, sniffed the bowl. His voice sliced through the quiet. New broth? Gurren didn't flinch. Kenshin ran out of bonito. They used dried mushrooms. He stared at her for a moment longer. Then he pushed the bowl aside. I'll eat later. Naruto's fist tightened. Gurren left in silence, but Naruto could see the tension in her shoulders. Attempt 1 failed. Soup rejected. There are no side effects. Gurren improvises well under scrutiny. Day 2. Kabuto chose to dine in his chambers. Gurren brought the food again: sweet bean rice and a bitter tea brewed with dried permissions. This time, Naruto watched from a hidden corner of the corridor through a genjutsu veil, his chakra low, breath slower than a whisper. Attempt 2. Poison delivered through tea, 3 drops before leaving the kitchen. There is no visual reaction on Gurren's part. Flawless delivery. Kabuto took a long sip and smiled. You really don't learn, do you? He said as he threw the teacup across the room. It shattered against the raw, amber liquid staining the stone. Gurren froze. I smelled mandrake, Kabuto said, rising. Crude, sloppy, you disappoint me. He crossed the room too fast for Naruto to act. He slapped Gurren hard. You try that again, Kabuto hissed, and I will feed you to the dogs before Yukimaru knows you're gone. He stomped past her, the door slamming behind him. Gurren crumpled to her knees. Attempt 2 failed. Kabuto detected poison through scent. Reacted violently. Physical assault. Gurren compromised, but was not exposed as acting alone. Risk escalating. Naruto slipped away, jaw clenched. This had to work tomorrow, or there wouldn't be a tomorrow. Day 3. Kabuto fasted through the day. Naruto could barely breathe from the stress. He kept his distance from Moegi's cell, not wanting to expose the plan. Gurren stayed in her quarters, silent. Yukimaru visited her once, said nothing, just rested his head on her arm. Evening came. Kabuto finally sent for food. Fried tofu and miso. Red bean cake. Attempt 3. Poison added to cake cream during plating. Tray delivered without incident. Gurren silent, eyes down, no hesitation, no deception. Naruto waited. Kabuto took the cake first. Always the sweet tooth. Bite 1. Bite 2. He hummed. You did something different to the filling, he said through chewing. Gurren bowed. I added plum paste. You always liked it. He nodded thoughtful and swallowed the rest. He died 5 hours later. It was slow, agonizing. Naruto watched from the vents as Kabuto writhed on the stone floor, bile streaking from his lips, blood oozing from his eyes. Gurren sat in the corner of the room, unmoving. She watched the whole time. When he stopped convulsing, she whispered, I wasn't a killer. Then She stood up and walked away. Naruto's field report. Final notes. Subject: Kabuto Yakushi, deceased at 0114 hours. Cause: poison administered via red bean cake. Metabolism is consistent with compound's estimated breakdown period. Death was confirmed after cessation of vital signs and no vital pulse. No medical ninja present. The body left undiscovered. Location: research wing, sub-level C. Mission parameters met. Rescue: 1:47 a.m. The air was thin in the underground as Naruto emerged into Moegi's cell. The locks gave way beneath his practiced fingers. Moegi flinched at first. Then her breath hitched. You're real," she whispered. He nodded, pulling off the mask. "Come on, we don't have time." She stood unsteady. He caught her. "You're not forgotten," he said quietly. Tears pricked at her eyes, but she bit them down. "I knew you'd come." They crawled into the vent system. Naruto moved ahead, guiding her through the steel tunnels with precise memory. Guren and Yukimaru waited at the exit, near the upper ventilation shaft. "Is it done?" Guren asked when he arrived. Naruto nodded. She closed her eyes. "Then let's never speak his name again." Yukimaru clung to her side. He didn't ask questions. The four of them slipped through the night like shadows. The base behind them already beginning to stir as Kabuto's body was discovered. Naruto didn't look back. He carried the weight of what came next in his silence. But for now, they were alive. Naruto let Moegi onto his back for a piggyback ride. "We need to move, and fast. Orochimaru may be caught up with his experiment on Taiuya, but no doubt he'll send his men to find us. If not, come himself. After all, I did kill his right-hand man." Naruto winked at Guren, taking the burden of killing Kabuto off of her shoulders. 5:54 a.m. The sun had just begun to rise over the Hidden Leaf village, casting a soft golden hue across the rooftops as Naruto, Moegi, Guren, and Yukimaru finally passed through the village gates. The 6-day mission had been grueling, full of blood, deception, and decisions Naruto would carry for the rest of his life. Moegi limped slightly, her legs wrapped in gauze from the deep lacerations she sustained during her capture. Her right arm hung in a sling, dislocated but stabilized thanks to Naruto's brief but careful use of the Kyuubi's chakra. Yukimaru walked beside her silently, clinging to Guren's hand. Guren's gaze never wavered from the road ahead, though she seemed resigned. She knew what was coming. As they passed through the village's main gates, 2 Anbu operatives approached. Without a word, they flanked Guren and gestured for her to follow them. "It's fine," Guren said to Naruto. "I expected this." Naruto gave a tired nod. "I'll speak to Tsunade. You kept your word." Guren gave him a faint smile, then turned and disappeared between the masked shinobi. Naruto didn't wait to be summoned. He headed straight towards the Hokage's tower, ignoring the concerned glances from passing villagers. He wasn't in the mood for conversation. He climbed the tower steps slowly, each one heavier than the last, his body screaming for rest. When he reached Tsunade's office, the Hokage was already behind her desk, flipping through papers. She looked up as he entered, surprised to see him. "Naruto, you're back," she said, then narrowed her eyes. "You look like hell. What happened?" Naruto didn't speak. He reached into his flak vest and pulled out a thick, blood-stained black notebook. He dropped it onto her desk. "What's this?" Tsunade asked, reaching for it. "My report," he muttered. Everything's in there. Tsunade frowned and opened the book. As she flipped through the pages, her expression changed. Her jaw tightened. Her hand trembled. Page after page detailed every agonizing moment. How Naruto infiltrated the hideout through a narrow ventilation system, crawling for hours in the dark with barely enough space to breathe. How he witnessed Orochimaru implanting a dojutsu into Taiya's skull, her body restrained and writhing slightly. How he sat in silence as Orochimaru and Kabuto tortured a man just feet away from him, their laughter echoing through the walls as flesh was peeled from bone. He described the moment the vent gave way beneath him, how Gurren had caught him. Instead of killing him, Naruto offered her and Yukimaru an escape. He promised her freedom in exchange for her silence. She accepted. He described finding Moegi in a cell, her legs carved up by a serrated kunai, shoulder dislocated from hanging restraint. He'd forced the Kyuubi's chakra into her body to stop the bleeding, risky but necessary. Then came Kabuto's end. Naruto had secretly told Gurren to kill Kabuto within 3 days. A cake with poison is what got the job done. Kabuto devoured it with his usual arrogance. The poison took 5 hours to kill him. An excruciating, convulsive death that had him thrashing in his lab while no one helped. Tsunade closed the notebook slowly. You went through all this alone? I had help, Naruto said, eyes heavy. You should have. I did what I had to. I'm going home now. He turned and walked out. When Naruto finally reached the Uzumaki Namikaze estate, it was quiet. The early morning light filtered through the trees, birds chirping, as if the world hadn't changed. He opened the door slowly, expecting silence. Instead, he was met with an annoyed voice from the hallway. Well, well, Kushina called out, arms crossed. Look who finally decided to grace us with his presence. Naruto blinked, too exhausted to form words. You think you can just disappear for nearly a week without even a message? She continued, stepping forward with a sharp glare. Are you allergic to communication now? Or just arrogant? Naruto opened his mouth, but Kushina had already closed the distance. Come on, at least say something, Kaki. Make it fun for me. Before he could respond, she shoved him lightly against the wall and kissed him hard. Naruto's eyes widened, breath catching in his throat. Her lips were demanding, fierce, and relentless. It was not gentle. It was hunger, control. She pressed closer, her hands cupping his face, her mouth moving with practiced fervor. Mom, he whispered, trying to pull back. I'm tired. I need to. She didn't let up. She slid her arms around his shoulder and pulled him closer, locking their bodies together. You were gone too long, she murmured between kisses. You owe me. Naruto groaned as her lips moved down his jaw, then back up to his mouth. He tried once more to create distance, but she pushed him again, harder this time, and dragged him into the bedroom. The door shut with a soft click. 6:07 a.m. Tsunade sipped her coffee with a sigh when she heard the door creak open. Ino walked into the Hokage's office, her hair still damp from a quick shower, dark circles under her eyes. Is Naruto back yet? She asked. Tsunade glanced up. Yeah, he dropped off a report. Looked like he got dragged through a war zone. Ino's heart jumped. Where is he now? Home, I guess. He didn't say much, just handed me this. She tapped a notebook. There's a lot in there. Ino didn't wait. She was already halfway out the door before Tsunade could say more. The Uzumaki Namikaze home was quiet when Ino arrived. The sun was now fully up, casting light through the tall windows. She stepped inside. No one answered. Then she heard it, moaning. It was soft at first, then louder, breathier. She moved down the hall, her stomach twisting, a weak and pained whimper. That's the next sound that she heard. Then the creak of a mattress. Her heart stopped. Ino opened the bedroom door, just enough to see. Naruto was chained to the bedpost with chakra chains, with Kushina on the bed, their bodies pressed close, lips locked. Kushina was straddling him, one hand buried in his hair, the other gripping a pillow. The room stank of sweat and heat, and something far more primal. Ino gasped. Naruto's eyes snapped open. Ino! Don't! Her voice shook. Don't you dare! Kushina moved off of him with a frown as she retracted her chains but said nothing. Naruto reached for his shirt. Ino, I can explain. She stepped back. Explain what? That you've been sleeping with your mother? It's not like that. I don't want to hear it, she snapped. Her voice cracked, tears brimming. I looked for you. I worried about you. And this? Naruto's heart twisted. Please, Ino. You disgust me, Naruto. The words hit him harder than any blow. He stared at her, mouth slightly open, breath catching. She turned and walked away, slamming the front door behind her. Kushina moved to speak, but Naruto raised a hand. Don't, he said. This should have never happened. She flinched. Naruto clenched his fist until his palms began to bleed. I'm done. This should not have happened at all. He stood, grabbed his trench jacket, and walked out again. This time, he didn't look back. But guys, I'm going to end it off right here. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe while you're at it. Remember, the like goal for this video is 5 likes. So hit that like button, subscribe while you at it. But without further ado, I am out and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay blessed, y'all.